Good evening. Welcome to my brand new podcast, Knights of the Shred, where I will be talking to local guitar players, musicians in general, about techniques, philosophy, life, whatever. But this particular episode, the first one, I'm going to do it by myself. This is an idea I've had for years at this point. Of just ranting about everything that I've seen as a guitar player, as a guitar teacher, these past 16 years, of all the things that I hate. And the first thing on the list is unnecessarily long intros. So that's the end of that. Point number 2, the strings are numbered wrong. This is something I feel unbelievably strong about, to the point where it's going on the internet right now. I think we're about 50-50 these days of who numbers the strings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or who numbers them 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You know, I mean, if you go back, if you think back into the history, like who invented all this stuff? Who decided that this is called the bridge? You know, who decided anything? These are all just ideas and opinions, basically, that have come about over time. You know, but opinions. Everyone has different opinions, but the world in general is one giant living organism of opinion and experience, learning, and all the rest of it. I could go on about that for a long time, but the point is, the strings were numbered wrong to begin with, and it goes right back to the violin, lutes, all sorts of stuff. I did a bit of research earlier looking into this. There's no single named person who is responsible for numbering the strings wrong. And they're lucky. I'm telling you, they're lucky, right? Because it's one of the biggest tragedies in musical history. The numbering of the strings. I could go and grab a packet of strings over there, but I won't. We've all seen them before, and we know they number them 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You know, why is that just so tragic? Well, I'll tell you why. Say you're playing in a band practice with your friends or whatever, right? Or your bandmates, because they don't have to be your friends, not necessarily. Although it's better if they are. Imagine you're talking to the bass player and you say, let's play fret 3 on string 6, you know? And then the bass player's like, well, I don't have a string 6. That's string 4 for me. So on the bass, for them, they're like, oh yeah, fret 3 on string 4. But fret 3 on string 4 for the guitar is this one. So that doesn't make any sense. But would you see how logical it is? If you number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then when you're talking about fret 3 on string 1, you're talking about this note. And guess what? The bass player then can talk about fret 3 on string 1, and it is also this note. They will just run out of strings after string 4. And it doesn't matter, because it's called the E string, you know? My voice is starting to crack with rage. It's called the E string, unless you tune it to D, in which case it's a D string technically. But see, even in the death metal world, if you tune to like C standard or something, you're still calling this the E string. Or you're calling it the first string. Which is strange, you know. And then you can talk about 7-string guitars. You know, I play a 5-string bass, so is it 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 then? Or how does that work? So the whole thing is gone to pot, you know, like whatever that means. It's the B string at that point. If you're playing a 7-string or a 5-string, you already know, what you're talking about. You know, you already know what you're talking about. It's really just when you're learning the guitar for beginners or whatever, just how do you number them? I like to number everything at the start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the whole way up. And your fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, even that's a problem, because pianists say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And some of my students are piano students and guitar students, and they maybe been piano students for longer. So that it takes them ages to go second finger, and they're playing this, they're putting this one down, you know. So in that case, you have to adapt. Adapt as it happens. So I would say index, middle, ring, little finger, pinky finger, whatever you want to. Why do people say pinky finger? I hate that term. That's another thing I hate. That's section 2D. I have a list. Of all the things I hate that I've been building up for years. I'll maybe do an episode of 10 things I love, but not today. Today is about hate, and I hate people calling this the sixth string. Do you know what's even worse though? What's even worse than that is people calling this the top string because it's at the top of the guitar. No, it isn't. The top of the guitar is here, right? If there even is a top of the guitar. I don't even know if I believe in the top or the bottom of the guitar. What if you're in space? Then there is no up or down anyway. What if you're playing like this, So anyway, that's that out of the way. So glad to get that off my chest. And are we all in agreement now? We're going to call this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Daddario, I'm talking to you. You need to change the numbering on your packet. Anyway, point number 3. Oh, I hate this one as well. Point number 3, the upside down thumb. This, if you play like this, it's a big problem, and I think you need to call the police. Because there's no reason to do that. Look at my hand, right? Look at this. Nothing has changed at all. But the problem in both instances is that my entire palm is against the back of the neck, which is like illegal anyway. You have to have a gap here, there just has to be a gap there. This is a whole other video in general. This could be, it is, I already have this video on my YouTube channel. I think so, or was it talking about pics? I don't know. But anyway, the thumb never goes upside down. Never let your thumb go upside down for any reason, even in like a physical medical emergency. It has to be up, right? It can go a little bit sideways, if you're going like, then it might, go a bit like that. But the upside down thing, I've seen a load of people playing like that, and some very good guitar players as well. Like, all these things. It doesn't mean you're bad if you don't adhere to my rules. This is just like a personal gripe for the sake of entertainment and the passing of knowledge, as I sort of mentioned at the start. Anyway, so just never do that. Do this the entire time. Doesn't matter how high up you are. Just don't do that. I can't even add anything to it. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. It's so counterproductive because you need to squeeze against your thumb. What I'd say to people, mainly when talking about the right hand, which is the next point, imagine someone gives you a quid, a pound coin, a dollar. I don't know. Do you have dollar coins? Whatever currency you have, right? Or an small item of value, right? Like a plectrum. You hold it like, you don't go, oh, thanks, and then walk like this to the shop to buy your ice cream, You don't, that is very, very strange. You hold it like this, or like this, which is the two different grips on the guitar. I saw Steve Vai talking about this once, so it must be true. The classical grip, where you're really far away, like this. You're just fingertips holding it like this. And then the blues grip, where your thumb's a bit higher up, because that can give you better wrenching power. For bends and things. But there's absolutely no reason to do this. Like, that's actually already sore. I know I'm exaggerating it, but it's sore here, whatever that means. The thumb upside down thing, like. Next point is the stretching your fingers. Point 4. Stretching your fingers is a myth. And the size of your hands being an issue is also a myth, you know. So I've heard that mentioned quite a lot, like, oh, you need to get your fingers stretched, stretching exercises. You know, no, you absolutely don't, right? That's how much your hand stretches, and that's it. And look, my other hand stretches the same amount. So why is that one not like way bigger than this one then? You know, if it's a stretching thing, it's not. It's a reaching thing, and it's all about the angle of your hands, your arms, your posture, the way you hold the guitar in general. You know, if I'm doing this, which you would hopefully never, ever do ever again because it was terrible, then I'm not going to be able to reach really far because I'm in this sort of position. I'm not doing this, you know. I'm in this sort of position for bends. If you want to go into a big stretch, span, not stretch, like 5 to 12, you know. I mean, I've changed posture to reach this, you know, like obviously I'm sitting down, you're supposed to stand up. When you're playing guitar, you go into super shred mode on your left knee. I mean, that's starting to get sore. 5 to 13, 5 to 12 is probably enough. So the point is, it's not stretching, it's reaching and getting the right angle for your hand. You know, I'm aware this is like mental when you start. It's very, very strange. It takes you a long time to work this out. And see if you've been playing guitar so long that you've forgotten how difficult this is, or you're a guitar teacher as well, and you want to remember what it's like. Do this and go. Oh. You know, it's possible, but that's completely alien. So if you've forgotten what it's like to be brand new at the guitar, try playing the other way around and you'll soon be reminded. But I'm aware it's very, very strange at the start. It takes ages to get used to it. You know, and you find little shortcuts. I used to just really go third finger all the time, like that, at the start and things, just because avoid using that one. But I really shouldn't have done. Straight into that. I'm still not as good at it. So anyway, there's that. What was the whole point of that again? Stretching. There's no such thing as stretching your hand. It's reaching and it's developing strength in that position, right? So it's a really unnatural way to hold your hand to do something like this. Yeah, I call it fire conjuration position, or sandwich holding position, burger holding position. You know, but fire conjuration position is probably the better one because one of my students pointed out that you eat a burger like this, but I don't know. Anyway, there's that one. Next, let's talk about the right hand. So this is point 5. We're halfway through, and then after this point, I'm going to do the introduction, right? Because nothing worse than an introduction at the start of something. I'd rather have the introduction in the middle or at the end. So right hand issues. Yeah, okay, let's get straight into this. There's so many right hand issues. It's unbelievable. But it should, if it doesn't look really, really comfortable and normal and natural and like, you know, as I say to my students, there's a reason for everything I'm telling them. I'm never going to tell them to do something just because it says in a book somewhere that you should have done it or whatever, because that person was probably wrong as well. And even if it's something that I think is right, I will still question it occasionally, or if I see somebody else doing it differently, I'll think, should I be doing it like that as well? You know, what's the reason for it, basically? So this, I mean, put your arm at a 45-degree angle along the front of the guitar, because when you're standing up, you know, depending on your guitar strap height and all that sort of thing, that's where your arm is going to be when you're palm muting, when you're resting your arm across and everything. This isn't really necessarily a technique video for that right now, so I'm not going into it in too much detail. But there's some of the problems I see. One of the main ones is people will play like this, you know, at an angle of 0 degrees. Like you're in the way of the bridge. You're like, and then what are you going to do if you're standing up then? You're going to like have your guitar here, like you're in the Beatles or something? Like that's, so, you know, that's that whole issue. And as you go along to the higher strings, you need to be muting with your palm, the heel of your hand, as you go forward onto the higher strings. That's another point of point 2 about the string numbering. You know, like the degrees of a scale go up. Like here's note 1. So going on a side quest here, going back to the first proper question. Here's note 1 of the scale. Here's note 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, back up to 8 or 1, whatever you want to call it. As you ascend in pitch, the numbers go higher. So why would that not be the same with the strings? You know, if you're like, okay, let's count and see how many stairs we have in our house. You're not going to start with like 17, 16, 15 and count them backwards. That's mental as well. Mental is the word of the day today, right? Which is, for anyone who doesn't know, depending on where you're watching this from, it's local term for basically saying it's crazy, it's stupid, it's wrong. In my opinion, it's wrong, right? But anyway, where were we? I went completely off track. The right hand. So yeah, as you're moving up the strings towards the higher string, the rest of your wrist, your arm comes with you and like mutes these other strings, right? Because if you're not muting the strings, they're making a sound. You have to actually stop them from making a sound. Apart from the one that you want to hear, right? And everything else should be muted. And that takes years and years to develop that. So having your right arm in the right position is really important. I think you should have a gap in your hand here. Some people play like this, where this is like closed. I call that tiger paw grip, because it looks like a tiger paw. I heard somebody else talking once about tiger paw being a positive thing, but they were talking about this. It was a whole different thing. It's fine. I will allow that. But basically, you shouldn't close this. And again, there's a reason. Everything has a reason, you know. Why? Because then you can't move the pick. They really need a top-down camera for this. You can't move the pick if this is closed like that. If it's like this, you can move the pick about, you know. And that's why. Anyway, that's that one. That's the pick holding of the right hand, arm angle. Yeah, the anchoring. So this is a sort of, some unbelievable players like Timu Mantasari, for example, would like rest fingers down here in the front of the guitar where they're playing and do this. Obviously, Michelangelo Barrio is like in a completely different plane of existence. His technique is awful, yet he's one of the best guitar players, technically speaking, ever. So we're not even going to talk about the way he plays guitar, because none of you should be doing that. Only Michelangelo Barrio should be playing like that. Doesn't make sense. Anyway, resting your fingers down, I mean, you could say it gives you stability, but no, to me that's like, it's like getting a ball and chain and shackling it onto your ankle and then taking part in like a 400-meter race, you know. It would definitely be a hindrance to you, you know. Oh, but it's anchoring me to the ground in case I fly away in the wind or something, you know. That doesn't make any sense. So I can't even play like that. I literally can't play like that. I need to be able to move fluently with the pick, because the pick's got a lot of, you know, it's got this amount of area to cover. So how are you going to do that with this? And also then, how does Michelangelo Barrio palm mute and go back and forth? I don't know. I think you can become amazing even with a bad technique, or a technique that isn't an ideal technique. You can still become amazing with it, you know. But I think you would have a better chance if you used a more sensible technique that actually makes sense. So there's the first five things that I'm raging about, now that they're off my chest, I actually already feel lighter and happier about all of it, you know. The audio is still recording, that's a good sign. So at this point, let's do an intro. So I've been talking about doing a podcast where I can relay some of these knowledges that have come across over the years of teaching. I don't know how many people I've taught. I should actually count it up. I've got all my diaries since I started teaching in 2010. I should really count up how many students have I had, how many lessons have I taught. You know, could be interesting. But anyway, it's been a lot, and it's been a long time, and you just end up in some very surprising circumstances sometimes. You know, like I had a student once. He could well be watching this now. Who knows? But I was talking about this being fret 3. And he didn't believe me. Like, what do you mean? Like, nah. Fret 3? He said, I would call that 2.5, you know, because 1, 2, 3, you're pressing here, so that's 2.5. Like, oh, right. I mean, I never thought about that before. You know, you're wrong, but it's a very interesting observation. So the frets are rectangles. That's the way I explain that to people. And the more of this you encounter, the more you're like, first sort of couple of weeks of lessons with a completely brand new student, your spiel sort of changes, you know, because I'm like, strings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, frets are rectangles. Let's count them the whole way up. Let's see how many frets your guitar has, you know. Fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that sort of thing, and just it goes from there. And that's the same for everyone. Hold your pick like this. Don't put your thumb upside down. All that type of thing. And then like every student then it splits in a completely different way. And that's why I don't really use like a course necessarily or books or anything like that. I'll just get a pencil and a page and just go for it from scratch. And it's different for every student because every student is completely different. They might want to play metal. They might have been playing metal for years, and they actually need to learn how to play bar chords, but they've never done it because they don't believe that they're important to them. And you're like, they are. You got to do those too. You know, every student's completely different. But I did end up with a big stack of tabs. I don't even know how many pages it is. Probably hundreds of stuff that I've just written out with a pencil now, which I actually love. And I love how like controversial that is in the age of digital technology. I'm just going to stick with the pencil and the page, you know. It's great. I love it. I love being rebellious like that. It's fantastic stuff. But anyway, so yeah, I just thought I should make this a thing where I talk about this online and transfer some of this knowledge. And if you do want some help with your own guitar playing or music in general, if it's music theory, whatever it is, work on rhythms, you can give me a shout. We can do video lessons over a video call. Here's a quick advert for my online teaching.
Do you want to learn how to play the guitar like a god? Come, join me, and together we will find the way.
Welcome back. Yeah, there's so much to talk about with all this stuff, and everyone's musical journey is completely different as well. And you could literally talk about this for a million years. And there are unbelievable guitarists and drummers, pianists, whatever, in this local area. So I want to get them on here, and I want to chat to them. And see what their opinions on all this stuff are as well. See if their opinions are wrong compared to my opinion, or maybe their opinions are even more correct than my opinions, and then I will learn as well. Who knows? Let's get back to the list of things that I hate. So, pick storing in strings. I mean, I barely have to talk about this because it's so obvious, but people who store their pick in their strings like this, that, is an absolute tragedy. I mean, if you need me to explain why, it's quite obvious, but you can bend and damage your strings. You can bend and damage your pick. If you don't have a lock nut system, you're probably going to put your guitar out of tune unnecessarily. And it looks like you're a noob, so don't do it. And you're like, well, where do I put my pick? Then put it in your back pocket, put it in your wallet, get a Pelly case specifically for it and carry that around. Whatever, post it to the address that you're going to be at whenever you need the pick, and get it sent special delivery, and then you can track it on your phone. And then as you go to play the guitar, the door will knock, and then the postman will give you it, That's that one. Point number 7, strumming directions. These are all like sort of basic things, but, I've just been developing a list of little things that really gripe me over the years. It's sort of funny, it's funny for the student to see that there's something really mundane that sends me off the rails. But strumming directions is a big one, and you see famous musicians doing this all the time. I'm not going to name anyone or call anyone out, but yeah, I've seen like fully professional, good metal guitarists on stage strumming incorrectly. So the principle is, this might seem a little bit unorthodox to begin with, but hear me out. The principle is down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Right? I know that's difficult to deal with, but right? Say you're not playing all those notes. Say you're only playing the ones on the beat. And this is the real point of it all. Is it on the beat? It's a downstroke. Is it off the beat? It's an upstroke. So when you're tapping your foot to the music, or your toe, or whatever you're doing, heel, when you tap your toe down, that's a downstroke. And when your toe is coming back up again to reset, that is the upstroke. And it depends on the speed of the song. Your song might be faster. What if you get, so the speed might have to change then. There's a whole process for that as well. But in general, it's down on the beat, up between the beat, right? And when you get syncopation, that's when everyone messes it up severely badly. Syncopation is where your rhythm goes off the beat, and you play between the beats, like... I've seen people mess that up so badly, and the worst case scenario is that people will just alternate down, then up, no matter what the rhythm is. So you get... Which, it isn't even too terrible, that particular example, but it is. And it's just, those are the rules, like classical musicians get this beat into them from an early age, which is what happened to me. I started with the cornet when I was 7 years old, and I still play it, I took the cornet the whole way through, right up to that like second level diploma, ALCM, which I call second Dan, because your grade 8's your black belt. So I got second Dan in the cornet. Which was great, because when I came into guitar playing, I'm like, this is a whole world of mystery, and nobody really knows what they're doing, and nobody can explain it. Nobody knows any proper theory like I do. Not even like I did. I was like aware of all the things I didn't know, and that made me even more worried about all the stuff that I didn't know about guitar, because I knew nothing about the guitar. But the people I knew who knew things about the guitar, I knew that they didn't actually know a lot about it at all, and they were making things up. And the books that they were reading from, I'm like, there's clashing opinions in this as well, Wow, that was another side quest. I don't know what happened to me there, but I went off and won again. Let's go back to strumming directions. So why does it matter, you know? And it matters because if you want to improvise, if you want to... mess it up a bit there. If you want to improvise, then you need that system locked in. And you know what else? Students that hate chords... it applies to that sort of stuff as well. So if you're picking, you know, like a scale type of thing. It applies to that too, you know. And then it leads into things like economy picking and like, are you going to deliberately choose to break the rule for a specific reason? You know, so if you like... So talk about Answers by Steve Vai, right? I can't even play it the correct way now. Basically, this one breaks the rule, but it does it on purpose, right? You're allowed to do it deliberately for a certain reason. The reason for this is that there's tonal differences to it, you know, as well. So, you know, there's tonal differences. If you're going like... there's tonal differences to it. So with like Answers by Steve Vai, for example. So yeah, but as my old trumpet teacher used to tell me, that you need to learn the rules first before you can break them, you know, and you can't break them brilliantly until you know them brilliantly. You have to. It's training. You know, you have to train yourself. That's what sent me off the rails on a side quest of talking earlier there. You need whoa. You need to train yourself. You know, the classical training teaches you that. You learn them this way because that's how it's done. The violin has been learnt the same way for like 400 years. The cornet didn't exist 400 years ago. I think it was invented in like the 18 something. And there's a whole way that you learn those instruments, and it should be the same in the guitar. Like, we should be learning the strumming things in this particular way, you know? So if I'm going to play Wonderwall, for example, and that matches your foot tapping, you know? This is now, it's not even a rant. This is actually just, I'm just explaining to you how this works, which is brilliant, you know? So you get that so much. You get like, let me try and do a really bad one again, right? What's the rhythm that everyone does? Is it that one? And everyone goes... You know, and you can see it. You can just see someone in the corner of a bar strumming completely incorrectly. It ruins the whole vibe. If you've got this locked up, you're basically doing this, but you're doing it in midair, and then you hit the strings when you want to hit them, you know, or when you need to hit them. That's the principle of that. Anyway, I went off on one for a little bit too long there. But that's a big one that really annoys me deeply, you know. Okay, let's go on to the next one, which is point number 8. the notation for the intro of the song Paranoid by Ozzy, Black Sabbath. I never know, is it an Ozzy song? Is it a Black Sabbath song? Surely it's a Black Sabbath song. But anyway, the notation of that, and I've got notes, right? The notation of that has always annoyed me so much because basically, I'll put this up on the screen. Here are my notes. You can't see them from that far away. I will put them up, superimpose them onto the screen. So this is the way that they were always notated in the past when I tried to look up tabs, when you look in books, Trinity Music School book, all that sort of thing. What we'll have at the start of Paranoid, we're picking string 1 and 2, strings 1 and 2 on fret 12 with finger number 1. And then we're hammering on the fret 14 on string 2 with your third finger, you know. But it was always notated as a grace note or an acciaccatura, you know, on this note. And then that was a little acciaccatura, like a tiny note that isn't actually the first note of the bar officially. And then it would land on the power chord. But that's, you know, how do you do that? It physically is impossible, or it doesn't make any sense at all. That always really confused me back in the day when I was learning this. Again, coming from, like, it was I was still learning trumpet at the time. You know, I was at grade 6 trumpet or something. And grade 6 music theory, because you have to learn both, you know. You don't get to escape one when you're doing a classical instrument. So that really confused me. And then when I was writing it down for the students, I thought, I'm going to write it down in what I deem to be the correct way, which is this way, right? Where the acciaccatura is actually the 2 fret 12s, and then we're hammering on the 14 on the beat. Bagam, bagam, bagam. You know? The way, again, I did some research just to check, am I right or wrong in this at all, you know? And it appears, if you go to the Songster, you know, everything's on Songster now, isn't it? If you go to those, the more modern way of, or the way they're writing that down now is like this, right? This way here. I'll zoom that up on the screen. So that's good, you know? It's not the way I'm doing it. The way I'm doing it is like this. But that is also good, you know? This is terrible. So there we go. That's the notation for an acciaccatura. I've probably drawn it a little bit too big. The stem should be smaller. So that's it. That's my gripe with Paranoid. Specifically, that just annoyed me for so many years. But it seems like, you know, people are wising up to all this now. That's the whole point of time moving forward, is just that everything gets slightly better if possible, you know. Awful. Great song. I just played it badly. Next point then is to talk about notation in general, right? So there's things that are done in classical music that I believe are wrong as well, which you may have seen a little bit of there. The first thing I want to talk about are ties, because there's more than one tie, the way I said that. The notation of ties, if you're doing like, you know, normal standard notation, you got like a note head with a stem, and you tie it over onto another note head with a stem, and then that's like 1 beat plus 1 beat. Oh, it's a 2-beat note then. Like, why wouldn't you just write a 2-beat note? Sometimes you're not allowed to, because, that's another thing that annoys me. That can be part of this one. Musical notation grammar, particularly rhythmic grammar, is like completely disregarded in tabs, you know, unofficial tabs online uploaded by whoever, and it's shocking. Some of the rhythmic issues, rhythmic tragedies that I've seen on there are terrible, to do with, like, you're not allowed to write you're not allowed to write quaver, crotchet, crotchet, quaver. That's like, you'll go to jail for that in some places. That's absolute tragedy, you know. So there's a way you have to write everything. Here's an example, right? I'll zoom in on this as well. I've got a crotchet on, this is a fret 15 note, this tab, whatever, right? Then we've got another crotchet, but I want it to be 1.5 beats long. I'm not allowed to draw a 1.5 beat long note here because that interferes with the midpoint of the bar, which is basically the rule for the rhythm grammar, right? So how many minutes am I into this rant? And I'm like, and another thing that has annoyed me over the years, but this is brilliant, right? This is exactly what I wanted to do, is to get to this point. This stuff needs to be mentioned. It cannot be avoided, right? I don't care how long this video is. Watch it like in little episodes, right? So you cannot disregard the midpoint of the bar unless you're doing a 3-beat note, which would be a dotted minim, or you're doing a 4-beat note, right? I can go into this in another video at some point. This is just a brief overview of all the things that have really annoyed me over the years. So you have to draw a crotchet at this point on beat 2. And we want it to be 1.5 beats long, but we're not allowed to interfere and breach the midpoint of the bar, which is just a general rule. I was told that once, and it's how it works. It's a good way to think of it. So we've tied this fret 15 note onto this empty quaver stem, and that's where I'm breaking the rules now, right? I like to say, after you've got your black belt in music theory, which is grade 8, you're allowed to make the rules up by yourself. You're allowed to change the rules, you know. So that's one of the things I believe is better. Most of the time, it depends. And see, when I go to write trumpet music now, or violin music or something, it's really weird if I actually go to do a tie and draw both note heads in. And so the reason why I got here in the first place is that students would look at 2 15s tied together. Like, there's a 15 over here, it's a different note. I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about this empty stem here. And a student would see this 15 and that 15, and they would think, do you have to play both of those? Because there's 2 15s there. Like, it's actually, they're tied, so you only play it once. And that's so confusing. So why not just not draw that one in? We'll just draw this one and tie it onto an empty stem, and then you know it's 1.5 beats long. And I don't think of it as a 1.5 beat long note. I think of it as 2, 3, and, you know, I'm counting in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it's bam, bam, ba, ba, you know. I could do many episodes on how to read and count and write rhythm, because I love it. It's probably my favorite thing to talk about, study, and to help people with, whatever. But yeah, rhythmic grammar is like massively important. So this is how you do it correctly. But it's weird because I don't draw in the note head of what you've tied onto. So you can see here, I haven't drawn in this note head because it's tied from here. I've drawn this one because it's a different note. And that's how you know it's a hammer-on, because it's 12 hammering on to 14, not 12 being held over. So there's that one out of the way. Oh, so good to get this off the chest. Next point. So we're on point 9b now, which is beaming over rests. This is another thing that breaks the law in classical music notation, right? Beaming over rests. So say I've got two, say if you don't fully understand anything to do with rhythm notation at this point, like, don't worry, glaze over this, skip on, come back to it in the future, whatever. It's okay. You can't understand music theory like immediately from the first telling of something. You have to, like, you know, persevere over years, have multiple different people explain it to you before it actually makes true sense to you. Anyway, so officially you're not allowed to draw this, right? The way I've got this is semi-quiver, 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 rest, semi-quiver. And another part of the whole rule of grouping and the rhythmic grammar is that you group things in beats, you know? So 4 quarters of a beat in one group, and you can see they're joined in this beam. Here's another beat worth. We've got quarter of a beat, half a beat, and they're beamed together, but obviously this isn't beamed together because it doesn't have a tail to beam onto. It's a rest. Here we've got half of a beat, a quarter of a beat, a quarter of a beat, and these are beamed across. And the thing that's illegal is that I've beamed over the rest. You're supposed to actually just have these joined together, and then this note would be separate with a tail, a separate note. You're not allowed to beam over the rest. I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's better to do it like this, in every circumstance as well. Even when I've gone to write like multi-part music notation for classical instruments or whatever, with standard notation. So beaming over rests, and look here, I've tied on to an empty stem again. So that's something I do that breaks the law of musical grammar, but I actually think it's better. So, that's all right. You're allowed to change things after you've got your grade 8, your black belt in music theory. You can do whatever you want. There's so many ways to write music down as well. Like here, I just wrote these 15s on one line. We're at the end. We're at the final point, the last one, and possibly the biggest one for me. Are we still sounding good? We are. Sometimes some sound card crashes. I just thought I'd check. The final point, number 10 for me, is this word that gets thrown around all the time, and that word is phrasing. Internet guitarists and just guitarists in general, because of this lack of knowledge, this lack of standardization of how you learn guitar, the rules of music grammar and all the rest of it, because of the lack of standardization of that for the guitar, it leads guitarists into this position of doubt and fear, which then leads them into a position where they're trying to put other guitarists down, without really knowing why or how, other than you're better than me, but you're playing faster and your notes are better than mine, but your phrasing's all wrong. Okay, yeah, let's go. Let's use the word phrasing, sure, because it's vague and no one really knows what it means. But because they don't know what it means, and you've said it to them, then that must mean that you know more than they know, and then they doubt themselves. Someone told me once that my left hand was weak. Based on a video, my cover of "Tender Surrender" by Steve Vai. So I worked on my left hand strength then, because they said that, obviously I internally called them a lot of bad names, but I thought, all right then, well, I'll work on my left hand strength. I'll work on it a lot, Quieter. Slower and louder. Anyway, what am I talking about again? Phrasing. So people love to throw out the word phrasing because no one really knows what it means, but it's a good way to insult someone and send them into crippling self-doubt. What phrasing really means, and I'll give you the hard, quickest, truest answer first. I like to say it's like micro adjustments to rhythm and volume. That's, if you had to break it down in maths, that's what it actually means. Little tiny nuances of rhythm and volume, So much else can be brought into that, as articulation, is all the rest of it. But where does it come from? It comes from singing. It comes from brass instruments, woodwind instruments, anything to do with your breath. Because even when you talk and you say a sentence, you have to take a breath and then say another bit more of a sentence. And then take another breath. And then say another little bit more of a sentence, And then say another little bit more of a sentence. And then say another little bit more. of a sentence. So if someone's having problems with their phrasing, it's probably their rhythm and their actual control of the instrument that is suffering, or it can be like the psychological response to what the way they're thinking about it. It can be like I get a lot of students end up in a position where they're physically able to play fairly well, but they're not playing the tune, if you know what I mean. They're like playing everything in the right order. What did I play? Like, well, no. It's like, it's just slightly rhythmically wrong. Or, it could be it could be pretty badly wrong. But the volume as well, and that's articulation. So articulation comes into it. So that it was improvising there, and I went into an area I wasn't really sure of, and it felt a little bit, a little bit late. So it's like, don't just say phrasing, say specifically what you mean. Is it a timing issue? Is it articulation? Is it volume? Whatever. But that's one of the big things is people just like to say your phrasing's bad. Like, specifically explain why, and just stop putting other guitar players down because you think they're better than you. And what does better even mean, So anyway, I think that's enough. I think that's enough of that. That's my rant. Part 1. Should we just call this part 1? Because I imagine there might be a part 2 at some point. But that won't be episode 2. Episode 2 of this is going to be having a guest on. I want to get... I've loads of friends who are fantastic guitar players, and I want to get them on for a chat, talk to them about their technique, about just their experience as a musician, and it's interesting. It's different for everyone. I love a podcast. I just love a podcast. How are you going to, clean your house, and how do you do the dishes? How do you say you're into, painting or something, side quests? What are you going to listen to when you're doing that? I don't like I like to listen to music when I drive. Some people listen to podcasts when they drive. I'd rather just listen to modern Judas Priest and Modern Testament specifically. But when I'm doing just chores and things, I like to have podcast on. So... let's end it with just a little bit of a meandering on the guitar, and this is what I want to do when I have guests on as well, some sort of jam at the end. So I'm going to play in some sort of relation to what I've discussed today, but with no idea really of what I'm about to play, and it could be terrible, and that's all right, because I'm just trying something out. Here we go. Let's add in that Dorian note, what does that mean? Yeah. I mean, what, do you want me to shred or something? It's not always about the shred.